Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to share this guest with you today that is with us. Her name is Pamela Downes, and she is a multidimensional soul body healer, transchanneler, and spiritual guide who works directly with the Great Council of Light to support humanity's awakening. Her work helps people to return to clarity, connection, and the remembrance of who they are at a soul level. All right up my alley. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here too, Jennifer. You're reading it, and I get excited when I hear the words of my own bio because I love what I do. It's wonderful.
I know. It's awesome. I'm so glad to have you here, and I can't wait to dive right in. So, I would just love for you to share with us really your path to what led you to this work.
Yeah. It was a path that I started traveling that I had no idea was going to lead me to this work, right? And that's that spiritual awakening journey that we start on. We do it, because we're ready and there's something inside of us that wants to start the remembering process, and it lights us up and it brings us and it lights our path into different places and spaces. And it allows us the space and the ability to kind of connect and discover. So for me, I often start, it's like, where do I start on this journey? Do I go way back? Where do I start in the middle, in the early stages of my life? But I always felt a little different. I think that there's a lot of us that say that, right? And I always felt a little weird or a little different. And like I never really fit in. And I remember that actually throughout my whole entire life. And now I'm at a place now in my mid 50s where I like can own who I am. And now I give like two bleeps about really what anyone thinks
Yeah.
anymore. But that didn't happen overnight. Like that
You
took
throw
a
all
long
the
time.
F's out the window.
Right. It's like
Bye
seriously.
bye.
Yeah, a lot of ego deaths on that journey to get here and now.
Yeah.
But the shedding process of this human experience and this human existence, and all the labels and things that we grow and learn that define who we are. But I was a creative, I still am, musician growing up, an artist. So I was very tapped into that feeling place. But at the same time, I had a contrast, in my childhood that I obviously asked for on my soul's journey. But that kind of made me feel limited, kind of stifled my voice and made me feel, kind of inferior and self conscious and those sorts of things. And I definitely have, that in my throat chakra. It took me a long time to really find my voice and to be able to start singing on stage and to like exercise that chakra. But when I got married and I started having kids, and it was time to really face some of the things that weren't aligning with me that I really didn't need to deal with. If I didn't want to go to church, I didn't have to. Because if I didn't believe in that religion, fine, I didn't have to go to church. But then, like, once the kids started coming and it was time to like figure out what I'm supposed to do with them as the responsible parent and, the traditions and all the things that come with that, I was just like, I did it with my first kid, and then it took me a while with my second. But then I was like, I just am not in alignment with this anymore. The world was shifting, religion was shifting. And for me, it wasn't resonating. There was dissonance there. And I started to see like a breakdown in the system. And I started to put at the forefront like what is love, and I was looking at it with my marriage, and I was looking at it with faith, and I was looking at it in like with the lens of what I had available to me at the time, right,
Mhm.
in the very beginning. And I was saying, well, if the God that I know, that I was taught to know and revere and to respect and to learn from and to walk with, if he is a God of judgment, but he's also a God of love, then how does he judge me when I die with eternal damnation or eternal life? Like love and damnation, like they don't go together. And
Right.
there was a dissonance. So I just had to, like I do in my life, just put the brakes on and just stop. I can't make a decision. I need to think about it. And I got to a point where I had to take my kids out of CCD. Like I could not live that any longer. And at the time, my husband at the time, he went along with what I was feeling because we weren't religious. And it was hard because I had to pull some plugs out of the wall for tradition and those sorts of things with family stuff and expectations. And what I was doing was doing that, flexing that muscle of trust instead of just trusting everybody else and all the things that were put before me my entire life. I was starting to go to that inner knowing and allowing it to speak, allowing it to be used, that muscle to be flexed. And, you know, really sitting in my discernment. And as you travel through the seasons of your life, as you travel through your human journey, and you do get more empowered in who you are, you do
Mhm.
know who you are more, you do show up differently just as a result of the journey itself. But I started what I call my knockdown. And I smile because it was really, really challenging, but it also changed everything. It was a part of the breakdown of the world and the person that I knew. And we went through the recession like a lot of people did in 2008 and 2012 in that time frame. And I had the recession happening and I had my husband losing his job and my business, was not as abundant as it was. I had the religion breaking down. Then I had my father who was dying from alcohol in front of me. And then I had this new discovery of Abraham Hicks. And I
Mhm.
mean, I always give him a last name of Abraham. Esther Hicks was channeling Abraham. And
Right.
I always give him a last name. But I started understanding the law of attraction. I started understanding like some of the things that I was doing in my life. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not what I want to be doing. If I can have control over something, I can at least control my words, my talk tracks. And I started shifting the way that I was speaking and putting out my existence and my reality to the world. And I started at the same time having understanding about my dad's journey and where he was and his like connection and relationship with alcohol and the way that he showed up as a parent. And I had young kids and I was dealing with some of the really difficult challenges of being an adult, and like everything was changing in my perspective. And I remember, finding yoga and allowing myself to do yoga and kind of like opening up my mind to receive some of the things in a more fluid and free way. And I watched my dad. One of the instrumental things was I watched my dad die in front of me, and I wasn't at the place to understand that he was energy and he had a soul body. I knew he had a soul just from religion, but I didn't understand. And when I watched him die, I just felt this. I don't understand where he went. His body's here. Where is that the energy? Where is the essence of him? And out of nowhere, we didn't have like $85 to go see a psychic medium gallery. We didn't have, my husband was working nonstop and he was watching, I was watching the kids while he could work. And this ticket, this fully paid ticket came to me. And this woman said, if you want to go to the psychic medium gallery workshop or whatever, it's yours. It's fully paid. I don't even want the money. Like, it's yours. You can go. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, if it's supposed to work out, he'll watch the kids like everything. I didn't even say anything. He came to me and said, Michelle said that she has a ticket. I'll watch the kids for you on Saturday. I was like, you don't have to work. He's like, no, go. So I wound up going, walk front and center in this medium gallery. And this man, who's now my very good friend, came over to me and he goes, your father's here. And like, I was gobsmacked. Like, I mean, I had no idea. And he goes, he suffered from alcoholism and it was his liver, and I said, yeah, it was. And then he walked away and got started. And he goes, okay, we're going to get started. He goes, your father's here. I have to come back to you. He's talking to me. And I was like, dumbfounded. And he goes, your father never told you that he loved you. And I said, no. And he said, your father never told you how talented you were, how creative you are. And I said, no, he didn't. And they're so specific that you can't deny it. Like
Right.
details that no one, I didn't know this person. I never had a conversation with this person. He didn't know me. He came out of nowhere.
Yep.
And with that, it was there's life after death. There is definitely something that exists beyond this meat suit of ours, and I need to understand it more. And that just sent me down that rabbit hole that I think a lot of people who are listening, and I know I'm sure you experience too, you just want to consume everything. You want to learn everything. You've got now this new perspective, this new understanding of something that you never had before. And when we start, looking at the box that surrounds us and our beliefs and our life and the reality that we know, and we start moving outside of it and seeing new things, we start traveling out there more. We start like going on adventures out there more, and we want to discover everything, and we want to learn everything and share everything and experience everything and have all the conversations. And that's what happened. I just started, learning more, wanting to know more. And as I was doing that, I was experiencing more. And as I was doing that, it was not, I didn't understand I was starting my healing journey, but I was, because you want to experience some of the things that you're learning about, like Reiki. And I'm trying to think of the things that I did. It was Akashic Records reading, shamanic soul retrievals, like all these things that brought me to different understandings of myself. It brought me to the understanding that I have had multiple lives and that I have come here many times to do the work that I'm doing right now. And, it put me on the path of the remembering process, the remembering. So it's interesting, Jennifer, because you sometimes when you're flexing that muscle of discernment and you're learning to use the tools of love versus fear, and you're learning to sit in that position of, I am going to give my soul the opportunity to speak, the opportunity to be heard. That's when like all my connections started in different ways. I started having a more vivid dream state. I started having like nudges and knowings, and I started feeling like I'm supposed to be pulled in a certain direction, or I'm supposed to go down this road, or I'm supposed to turn here, or, um, the law of attraction was like showing up like crazy in my life. And that's evidence, angel numbers like crazy. I'd walk in a room. Every single time I walked in the stinking room, it was an angel number on my phone. And like all the God winks saying, atta girl, keep going, keep moving forward, And I started having like interactions and alignments with the right people at the right time. And I met this person who was a friend of a friend, and we immediately, a sister of a friend, we immediately hit it off and wanted to know more about each other. And then she wound up leaving her corporate job, starting a Reiki practice, asking me if I would help her with her marketing and branding to launch her new business. I've been an entrepreneur in the marketing and branding space for 26 years, had my own company for 26 years. And I said, sure. She goes, would you do trade with me? And I said, sure, I would. And so I listened to that nudge, and I allowed myself that opportunity of that interaction to learn more about her, to learn more about Reiki. And she wound up doing this retreat on this quartz crystal mountain in Costa Rica. I secretly wanted to go, right? I was being pulled towards it, but I didn't say anything because I knew it wasn't time. Every time I wanted to bring it up, I kept hearing, not time, not time. And I would listen. And then out of nowhere, she said, hey, listen, do you want to do the rest of our trade with this retreat? Do you want to come? And I never wanted to learn Reiki. I didn't want to be a practitioner, but I was called to go. I just knew I was supposed to go. And I was just out of a marriage. I knew I needed to leave my marriage, and it was really scary, but I had to do it. And it opened up everything for me. So now I was like traveling to another country, doing things that were strange and exciting, but for my soul. And I learned all about being an empath. I did not even know I was an empath. I did not even understand the chakras. I did not understand why I had to take anti anxiety medicine when I got married to deal with energy and other people's energy. And so, this journey of allowance and experience, the chakras and my energy centers, and learning that they, are associated with a color and a vibration and organs and emotions and attributes and like all these things, showed me that I, was more than just this, just like my dad's death did. But in the attunement, the final ceremony, I had a past life open up in my throat chakra, and I was thrown back, and I was in literally a hanging, and I was foaming at the mouth, and I was going through all these, having all these sounds, and I was scared. And both of the practitioners who were there started working on me. And I literally had my throat chakra blown right wide open. And right before that, I had had my heart chakra blown wide open. And those are the moments that show you there's something more to discover. There's something more down this path. And after that, my vibration rose, and I started having more interaction, having more experiences, really too many experiences. It was unsettling. There were, energies that would kind of permeate my being at night, and I would see things and feel things. And, I was learning this full circle thing of frequency and dimensions and beings. Like I had to understand all of them to be where I am today with this council who are a high, super high frequency. So I had to learn all those things, just like you have to learn all the things on your human experience to give you a
Mhm.
greater understanding. You have to learn them in your spiritual sense for whatever you're meant to understand, for whatever your path is. And I came home from that trip, and I started having all these experiences. I didn't have a community. I had Kelly, but she couldn't be my anchor all the time. She was like, it was like me wanting to be with her, but I had to experience it myself. And I started learning more and tapping into things more. And I had knowings like you wouldn't believe. And I saw a video of somebody who created this retreat center who healed themselves of all of these addictions, sexual addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, like everything. And he created this retreat center and for people to heal. And when I saw it, I had this wah 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 moment. I knew I was going there. I didn't know how I was going to go there, but I started, and I knew that I need to speak my truth. And I would talk about it. Well, through a series of connections and alignments, I did trade with another person, and I was working for a company, and she said, "We're doing a symposium down in Florida. Everyone gets to go to one of them. You get to choose one. Do you want to go to this?" And I said, "Yeah." So I walked into this big conference room, like event center, and I saw the owner of the company across the room. And I walked across the room and I said, "Hi, it's me. We haven't met yet, and I'm working on your marketing." And he turned around and he shook my hand, and this energy came through my crown chakra, through his, out our hearts, and this woo, 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 woo thing started. And I was like, I couldn't focus. I'm looking at him. He goes, "Do you feel that?" And I said, "I do." And we wound up becoming very good friends. And he called me and he said, before we became good friends, he called me after that weekend and he said, "I want to learn more about what this experience was. I want to know about you. I want to talk about it." And I said, "Yeah, I felt that." And he goes, "Well, I don't really ever share this with work colleagues, but I'm on my way to do ayahuasca next week or whatever." And I went, "Ayahuasca? I'm going to do that at this place." And he goes, "Pamela, I'm going to that place in November." And it was like, blew my mind because in my business, with my clients and my friends and my world, no one even talks about any of this, number one, but no one knows the place I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
And we wound up becoming very good friends. And I kept hearing, "He's going to invite you to go to this place. He's going to invite you." So he did. It's 5:55 my time. He did. And he goes, "Listen, I would like to invite you to join me as my guest. You'd have to find your own way there, but I'd be really happy for you to come. You're going to love the people. I'm a part of this group, and someone in the group is on the board of the place that we're supposed to go to. They're closing it down. Normally, it's open to the general public, but it's going to be 40 high conscious spiritual like leaders that are going to be there." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't have to figure it out. I literally got placed in here, but I had to find my way there.
Yeah.
I had to figure out how to get there. I had to pay for it. I had to like figure out the schedule. I had already had a trip already planned the week before. And with my custody and everything, it was like, how am I supposed to do this? Well, I had to make it happen. This was an opportunity. So I came home and then I left the next day. Like there's work, there's kids, there's money, there's so many things to juggle to figure that out. And I made it there. And I had to go there at that very time because I had so much fear to work through. There was so much fear inside of my body, especially in my throat chakra, that needed to be released from so many different impactful lifetimes through that week-long journey, I released so much trauma, so much karmic energy that my frequency rose. And by the end of it, we did a breathwork class, and I had this white light shoot through my third eye, fill my whole body up with vibration, and my teeth were buzzing, and my head was zinging, and my everything was buzzing. I lost my breath. I was crying, and I heard your psychic abilities have been enhanced. Everything from this day forward will be different. And then I came home. That was November of 2019. I came home and it was COVID. And I wanted to sit and I wanted to know more about what that was. I wanted to connect in a collaborative, like intentional way. Everything that brought me to that moment, I knew I needed to do more discovery, more. Every one of these moments showed me that there was more on this path. And I sat, and every morning I sat there with intention, said, show me more. Let's work together. Let's co-create. And this group of divine, feminine, effervescent, like very buoyant, loving, loving, loving beings would come in. And when they would come in, I would know that I was going to do deep soul work again. So I'd have to go through the past life death, the actual experience of it. And I was like a fly on the wall watching myself go through it and releasing the emotions of it, releasing the karmic impact of it. And I did it. I did it over and 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 over again. And by doing that, I was raising my frequency and raising my frequency till I got to a point where the council could connect. I didn't know it was them. I didn't know it was them, but it was having had this whole gamut of experiences with all these beings. I didn't even talk about my interdimensional beings and the ETs and all the different things that showed up because I was so open during that time that I was doing all that work every morning. Um, I got to feel the frequency of different beings. I got to hear their language. I got to understand about them. I got to see them and draw them. And I didn't understand at the time why. We don't always understand in the moment, but I understand it now because I had languages and codes embedded in me that I'm using now to work with people. I had to understand their frequency and how they feel and the resonance of it in my body so I could have contrast, just like everything else in life. And when the council came in, it was so high frequency, so loving that it feels good, and we
Mhm.
are in a relationship together. So I started working with them. They started giving me in 2020 downloads, visions, premonitions, guidance. And I started seeing things, hearing things, waking up in the middle of the night with messages, with downloads, drawings, making notes, taking voice notes. And one of them was I woke up hearing spirit calling, spirit calling. And I woke up, wrote it down, and in the morning I bought the domain and I just like filed it away and forgot about it. And over the course of a year, I kept hearing there's going to be a glass ceiling that breaks. People are going to stop in their track. They're not going to know who and what they have believed in their entire world and their existence. And they're going to need a safe place to land. You need to build a portal. And I was like, what the heck is a portal? Like I'm building websites and things for clients. I knew a portal was like a health thing. You could log on and have a back end experience. And I'm like, no, like right now, I can't do that. I just merged my business. I just started a whole new business. Like, I can't do that. And I kept hearing, it's time, it's time, it's time, it's time. So finally, at the end of a year, I just, I surrendered and I threw my hands up and I said, I'm your humble servant. I will do it. Send me the people, send me the money, send me all the things. And I was in a networking call for something else. This man was on the call and his little box on Zoom was ringing at me. And I said, I don't know what you do, but we need to meet. And we met and he said, I build online communities. I mean, that's what I needed to do. And it was time to start doing it. And this person came out of nowhere who lived in my community to work on a project. And we worked on her project. And at the end of her project, she said, Pamela, she was a Reiki master. Pamela, I'm getting information that we're supposed to work on a different project. It's a portal. It's a community. And I was like, oh my God, we both started crying. So while I was in build mode in my one business, she was helping me create this with the developer and everything. And one of the things I didn't tell you was I lost my house in the recession. We lost everything. The only thing I had was this new little house my mom bought that I purchased from her that had equity in it. And the council told me, we want you to take the equity out of this house to build the portal. And I was like, hell no. This is like the only thing that I have left. And I did it and I built it. And then in 2020, January of 2024, I launched it. Shortly after that, I got a vision in the middle of the night of my house. It had a for sale by owner sign on the front lawn. They told me how much to sell it for, all of the details and direction. And I got up in the morning and I was like, I'm not ready to sell my house. And then I was like, oh man, I have to do what I'm being guided to do. So I walked across the street to get my dog from a play date. And my neighbor said, what are you going to do when your youngest goes to college? And I said, I just decided I'm going to move. I'm going to put the house on the market. She goes, my father loves that house. He knew the woman that lived in that house before you guys moved in there. He's a builder. He had a second floor addition already built for that. Let me see if he's interested. And I sold it in hours for exactly what I wanted, cash, nothing off of my plate. And I could pick my closing date, which was 5 months later. So it's like, we're talking about embodiment. That's embodiment. Knowing and receiving the guidance and living that way, not learning through intelligence, but living through the journey of embodiment, the energetic conviction. You're showing the universe, you're showing your spirit, you're giving your soul the opportunity to lead you forward, to draw you every step of your path moving forward. And when you do that, you're in complete alignment and resonance with the future version of yourself, with your highest potential of who you are and why you came here. And it's a never ending journey, right? It doesn't end. I'm still doing it now 6 years later, stepping into the next version of my remembering is happening. Like it's happening every single stinking day. And there's a journey of fear versus love with that, right? Stepping into love for the opportunity, for the understanding, to let the soul be heard, to let the soul guide the journey, to let universe be in the driver's seat, to be in co-creation and union. That trust we talked about, that's external, that's out in the world. When we have that limited perspective, then we go inside and start using our tools of trusting ourselves. Then that moves into trusting the universe is leading, the soul is leading. It's a different kind of trust. And it's something that I help people understand and learn. And it's the coolest thing when you see like a light bulb go off and you see people understand when they start practicing it, putting it into their life, into their relationships, into their work, into everything. That's the abridged version. It's the fast
Yes.
one.
Yeah, moving on to embodiment, right? So, yeah, you described that so well. And whenever we feel held back on our journey in any way, shape, or form, it's not because we're unclear, actually. It's because we already know what we're being called to, and we may have already even made an internal decision around it, but for whatever reason, we're choosing to hesitate to act on it. And that is what causes things to feel sticky,
Yeah, that's still
right?
work. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. And
Yeah.
the more that we follow that guidance, like you said, the more life tends to flow. And it
Yes.
really isn't about it always feeling easy, because it doesn't
No.
necessarily always feel easy. It's more about the willingness to
Yeah.
trust that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
listen, if if you can't do it, right? Like, you know how many times I've been read and I've been told, like, they're saying you finally agreed to it, you finally did it. It took forever, and it did. I had choices and I cowered in fear sometimes because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And these decisions that are hard, that you struggle through, that you sweat through and you cry through and you struggle through. I don't wanna, those sorts of things. It's soul work, right? There's huge leaps on the other side of that. There's huge healing. There's huge opportunities. There's
Yeah.
opportunities for more love with everything on the other side of that. And then,
So although, we're always evolving, right? That never ends. And I think you mentioned that a couple minutes ago.
yeah,
We do reach a space where the seeking is really done, right? Because this is where, something I'd love to touch on, because our current society as a whole and also even a lot of, what people would deem to be personal development industries, spiritual communities really focus primarily on the aspect of the becoming and the seeking. And
Yeah.
what can happen very easily is that we get stuck in this loop of becoming and seeking, or I need to learn this modality or take this other class or do this other
Right.
meditation. But
Yeah.
there's a point on your journey where you need to take what's already been provided to you, take the clarity that you have, the mission work that you're being called to, and start living inside it
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
evolve from that space.
Yeah. You're absolutely spot on, 100%. And that's what the Great Council of Light has been sharing in their messages. And that's what when I work with people on one-on-one and soul path coaching, here's an example of one without mentioning his name. He was super intelligent, IT, tech guy. Um, he has had multiple health issues his entire life, a series of circumstances that weren't the highest and best, and a lot of sorrow and loss and angst and disappointment and all those things, but a lot of health issues. This man was defining his here and now by his journey thus far. So in 1940, in 1950, this happened in 1960, and then not only his physical experience, but the spiritual intelligence that he had been learning all this time. In this year, my stars were in this and that, and because of this chart says that I'm here and I'm that, and this course said, and the council said it's time to stop all of that. We're not going out for external knowledge anymore. We are
Yeah.
going internal. And this divine wisdom that we're channeling to help you understand you, only you, and how you're showing up and why you show up the way you're showing up. It took a while, but then a aha moment happened. Everything freaking changed. And he healed relationships, estranged relationships with his family members. Everything changed. His talk tracks, because his understanding changed, because he put it into action. He put it into action. He gave himself the chance to stop satiating the brain, is what the council say. You're satiating the brain. Who doesn't want to learn about their house and their number and their all the things, numerology, all of it? There's so much to partake. There's so much to look at. There's so much to learn. There's so much to share. There's so many sessions to do. But you are the session. You are this, like you are. So you get to work with your guides, have a relationship with your higher self. Open up and ask your soul, what does my soul want me to know? Start practicing that, intuiting from it, forming that union and that fluid communication line. That's what it's about now. It's totally about that. You're 100% on. And I'm watching a shift in the spiritual community and the leaders. I'm watching it happen. There's just like, I keep seeing this division, like when I don't know if it's milk or butter or cream, when something rises and it splits. That's what I keep seeing that, because there's people that are stuck in that and that's what they know. But there's people that are moving into the embodiment because that's what's needed right now. And this is all just a soul's journey. It's all such just a journey. And intelligence versus embodiment. I don't know how else to explain it in my words, but yeah, it's it. The seeking, it's a different kind of seeking, right? It's just a different kind of seeking. It's not seeking out, it's seeking in. It's seeking in unison and
I don't feel like
collaboration.
it's always even seeking in. It's
Yeah,
it's remembrance. It can
it's
be
remembrance.
remembrance. I mean,
Right. Two
I
different words that sort of like
from
come
my
in the
own
same.
personal experience and others that I know that I've worked with, I can say when you open yourself up
Yeah.
to receive, you make the declaration, you choose that.
Hmm.
I mean, there's stuff that I've remembered that people study for years
Yeah,
learning.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, how did you know that? Well, I
I'm
just
downloading
knew.
it. Uh-huh. And it's happening quickly. It's happening quickly. People are having rapid expansions because they're stepping into it, and people are
Yeah.
channeling. They're channeling like crazy now. Everyone's starting to channel, and um, I agree with you. Like everything that I do when I work with people, it's all self-taught. It's all from my connection with my higher aspect, who's on the council, and what we are co-creating together here now, here now, here now. And so it is the remembrance. It is. It's cool. Not everybody understands that, Jennifer. They just don't.
I'm very deep into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
your audience is then too. And that's a really good thing.
yeah, yeah. I would love just for you to anything else in the now moment, as we're preparing to close the conversation, just anything else that you are feeling guided to bring forward.
Yeah.
Sure.
So as you're on this journey, like that we talked about, and the remembering, what can support that remembering is working on your frequency.
Yeah,
And it's very basic to say that, but actually it's imperative right now because of all the shifts that are happening. And I work with the council, I lead my spiritual community, but I channel messages of support, love, and guidance, and all of the wisdom that comes out is absolutely beautiful and loving. But I also receive premonitions and visions and energy updates about what's going on in the world.
yeah,
And the council, I always say, I don't want to I don't want to share this stuff, it's hard. And they said it's imperative, it's also part of the learning, because your job here now is to support and prepare people so they understand to work on their frequency. If you don't know what that means, it means you have a resonance, you have frequency, you have a pulse that goes out into the universe.
yeah,
It draws everything to you that's in alignment with that. So if there's chaos, if there's a world in upheaval, if there's all the things that are coming, that's a low frequency. You want to rise above it. You want to get your house risen and strong above it, a strong lighthouse that's a beacon of light for not just your immediate family, but you're holding space for the collective. And if you don't understand how to do that, there's so many things to help you. But one of the things that they teach is looking at your day, really putting it to practice. Look at every single thing you do in your day. What are you doing? What are you eating? What are you consuming? Who are you spending your time with? What is the work that you're doing? Give it, measure it, rate it. Can you improve it? Yeah, do it. Make slight changes. Turn the degree, 1 degree on the dial to start changing things. Feel the empowerment, feel the frequency raise, see your life change. It's all a part of it. And that's what basically my teachings from the council are, and helping people to do that. There's basic tools you can use to assist your frequency, like sound healings. We all know that. And going out in nature, we know that. And salt baths, we know all of that. But really, it's that energetic conviction. It's the energy. It's changing your life. It's changing your path. It's changing your habits, your behaviors, your words, everything. So give yourself the gift of that. And if you can't do it a day, do it for an hour and work your way up. Right? Yeah.
absolutely. For those who are feeling called to connect more deeply with you, where is the best place for them to go?
Thank you for saying that. So my community is spirit-calling.com, but I have a special gift for anybody in your community. I want to be able to let them have some free downloads. So it's, if you want to go to, and you'll put this in the notes, spirit-calling.com/path of the awakened heart. There are some interesting things from the council that you can download to help you with your frequency. And then there's some of the things that are happening, some of the things that I launched, that I'm doing. But I just launched the most amazing thing. I can't wait for everyone to know. It's a spiritual assessment. It's a quiz. It's on my homepage. So what I've learned over the last 2 years of leading this community and working is that I built a ladder for everyone in different phases of where they are in their journey. So you can do this quiz, you can find out where you are, and you'll understand yourself a little bit more. Maybe you're somewhere you didn't know where you were. Maybe you're further on the path than you thought. There's tools that are just general tools, and there's also tools that I have that might help you on your journey, and I'd love for you to do it. It would be so cool. And then follow me on my social channels. They're all at Spirit Calling Pamela. Go follow YouTube, especially to get the energy updates I do every month and to find out what's happening in the world.
Beautiful. Oh, so generous. Thank you for all of those generous offerings and also for so generously sharing your wisdom and for just all that you do because I know it takes
Yeah.
conviction and courage and
Yes.
there has to be something innate within your heart that devotes you to a path
Yeah,
like this. So
totally.
thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
having me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Pamela.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.